This meeting has started. Welcome to everybody.
Okay.
So, I have got an idea of something to talk to you about today, and that you could help me with, actually. It's a lesson plan that I
Hmm.
used last week with some Austrian teachers in Norwich, and I think it went well, but I thought it would be interesting to tell you what I did, to share it with you, and maybe get you to help me develop the ideas. And of course, you are welcome to steal all the ideas as well. Does that sound good? Okay, sounds good. Welcome as well, Karen. And okay, so we're just going to start off with a quick game of circle and cross.
Oh,
What I
yes.
want you to do is with your right hand, can you draw a circle in the air? Easy peasy. Yeah, that's done and dusted. So now with your left hand, can you draw a cross? Probably best that you don't look at yourself on the screen because you'll go wrong. And then it's called cross and circle. And of course, what you have to do is draw a circle with one hand and a cross with the other and keep them going. Circle with one hand, circle with one hand,
It's very
and a
difficult.
cross. Easy peasy, isn't it? Circle,
Absolutely. Totally easy
circle
peasy.
with one hand. Okay, if you found that easy or difficult, try swapping over and draw the circle with your left hand and the cross with your right. Circle with your left hand, cross with your right. Was that easier that way round?
Maybe.
Yeah, probably means you're right-handed if you find that version.
Okay.
All right.
Yes, I
That,
am.
that is it. That is the game. It's called Circle and Cross. It's just a quick way of creating a bit of, I don't know, something in the classroom,
Crazy.
relaxation,
Crazy.
fun, creativity. I learnt it from the magnificent man Augusto Boal way back in the
Oh, yeah.
90s. Um, and if you do it with students, it's usually quite funny because it goes wrong. Um, welcome, Emma B. Hi, welcome back.
Hi
Welcome
guys, so I'm a
back,
little bit late.
everybody. That's all right. I've just been wittering away and telling people that I'm going to share a lesson plan that I used last week. So I work at the Nile School in Norwich, and I work a lot with either teachers or trainee teachers to share drama techniques with them. And this week I was working with trainee teachers from Austria.
Hmm.
Okay, so yeah, let's see. I'm going to get this book. So my lesson plan ideas started off by looking at this drama book, which I think I might have shown you before. It's called
Yeah.
Try This, Unlocking Learning with Imagination. And it's a very thick book, uh,
Mm.
because it is a workbook, all right? And it's got, I don't know, probably about 25 different lesson plans in there. It's written by a guy who also lives in Norfolk, where I live, called Tim Taylor, and he's co-written it with Viv Aitken, who's in New Zealand. And as a result, the lesson plans in each unit, there's one written by Tim and one written by Viv, and they reflect either what Tim's cultural background and interests are, or Viv's. So there's a lot of kind of New Zealand culture in there as well. Quite interesting. Have you heard of the Mantle of the Expert? Some nods, some good old nods here, and some shakes. Okay. So, have you heard of Dorothy Heathcote? No, good. All right, I'll tell you about her. So, unfortunately, she's another magnificent drama person who's no longer with us. And she was, where's she from? Probably Manchester, I feel. And she trained as a teacher, and then she just started trying out using some drama ideas in her teaching when not many people other than her were doing that. And as a result, she developed new ways of working, and her approaches informed a lot of the educational drama that has developed since the 60s. And there's still videos of her working. One of the techniques that she produced is called mantle, in other words, coat or cloak of the expert. And the idea is that instead of the teacher teaching the kids as an expert on something, the kids are the experts. So they take on the mantle or the cloak of the expert. And in this situation, they are given a problem to solve. So it might be that there's a wreck at the bottom of the sea which has some treasure in it, and they are literally tasked with something like that to do. And they take on the role, for example, of divers, archaeologists, researchers, historians, naval experts. And as a result, they then learn all that they need to learn in order to act out doing these tasks. And this has been so successful in the UK that a lot of schools have used it as an ethos for their whole approach. And it's amazing if you see any videos or go into a classroom where it's taking place. You're walking on board a Spanish galleon or something like this. So Tim Taylor worked with Mantle of the Expert a lot. And he's now produced this book last year, which uses some of the techniques from that to, as it says here, unlock learning with imagination. So it's not just about drama, it's about using different stimuli to evoke learning. Now, I read some of this and I thought, this sounds great. And there's one chapter in there based on a book by Anthony Browne called Zoo, which is for young kids. Some of you know it? Okay, so Anthony Browne, he's written a number of books, including Zoo, and he's also an illustrator. And this is one of his illustrations, okay, from Voices in the Park. I looked at Zoo and I looked at Voices in the Park, this other book by him, and decided to use that as my stimulus. And I'm now going to present to you what I did with the students and explain what I did with them, get you to do some of the activities, and then ask for some ideas about how we could progress it. So I need to just go and get a prop, and I'll be back. So here we are. To start off with, I'm going to pretend to be somebody from a story, okay? And all I want you to do is to watch what happens and then tell me afterwards what you think you saw. Okay, here we go. So the person I'm going to be is not the same gender as me, and they're not the same age. Okay, that was it. So can you tell me, you can switch your mics on, anybody, what you think you saw or what you think I did, or anything about maybe what the character might be doing or who they might be? Grant?
Was she waiting for a bus or something, and then she realized at the time, and that she was in the wrong place or something like that.
That's that's a good guess. And what was
Oh,
it
it's in the
about?
park though. It's in the park, right?
Yes.
It's in the park. Okay, so she's lost her child or something, or a dog.
Okay. Thank you, Grant. Anything else? I'm not going to say yes or no whether things are right yet. Kirsty?
I thought she seemed impatient, a bit edgy,
Yeah.
a bit frustrated, maybe anxious, possibly even, or
So the idea is when you're doing this with kids, that you ask them what it was about what you did that made them think that. So, Kirsty, what was it that made you think
okay.
she was
The way in which you kind of used quite jerky movements, you used your eyes a lot, you were looking side to side, you kind of were getting up and down in your chair like you had ants in your pants, you were a bit impatient to do something that didn't happen.
Yeah, great. Lovely description there.
Physical things. That was it really. That's what I'd say.
Anybody else got anything to add about what they saw?
I think something happened behind her that made
Yeah.
her jump,
Something
startled her,
Mhm.
either a noise or something that shocked her.
Right.
Or somebody sat down beside her on the park bench and she felt very uncomfortable about that.
hmm
I thought she might have been like quite an elderly lady
Yeah.
who was
Yeah.
quite irritable, and then she realized maybe her bag had gone or something like that, perhaps.
Oh, nice. Interesting.
Mm.
Okay. So, just to tell you, because I'm kind of following at the beginning, I'm following this lesson plan. So I'm going to tell you what I've done up until this point, and this is partly to remind me what to do next. Oh yeah. So at this point, the idea is that you just get the kids to think about the character, but also to think about physically what it was that character did, which is why I asked you that. And you talked about how they moved jerkily, how they got on and off the chair. So that's that kind of thing. Okay, so after you've had a discussion, which might go on for a bit longer if there's lots of students in the room, uh, you then do the second part. So you're going to see the character again, but this time she's going to say something. And I'm just going to remind myself what I'm going to say. Oh, yes. Okay. Charles, where are you? Charles! Charles, come here at once. Okay, was there anything else that you got from that? Anybody? Raise your hand if you did. Emma, don't forget to mute.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's a little old lady that's lost her dog, Charles.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Yeah, okay, that's a good guess. Welcome others who have joined us, and we're just going through the beginning to a drama lesson that I did last week with some trainee teachers, and I was quite happy with it, but I thought that I would like some more ideas with it. So anything else that you gathered about the character? Maybe, hello, Sheila. Um, you just saw maybe only saw me do that. What did you think? Unmute yourself and tell us what you thought about that character.
I thought the character was female, probably middle-aged, talking or shouting, looking for her. I don't know. I thought son, perhaps.
Okay. Yeah.
I thought originally what I said about you being impatient and a bit edgy, you were playing a younger character. This time I saw it as an older lady.
Yeah. I think I was a little bit informed by what you had talked about, and I wanted to represent the age a bit more.
Mhm.
And it's difficult on this is not originally meant to be for Zoom, obviously. So it's difficult to show all your body language, which is why, I moved the laptop when I stood up. Okay, so I'm just going back to the lesson plan to see what I did. So the character is from a book called Voices in the Park by Anthony Browne. And in that book, things happen in the park, and there are 4 different stories told by 4 different characters. And the character that you just saw was called Mrs. Smythe. Okay. And she had come to the park with her son and also with her dog. Her son is called Charles, and her dog is called Victoria. That's as far as we know about the story. So what I'm going to do, let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I'm going to divide us into 2 groups, and I'm going to give each group. Let me open up the chat. Yeah, I'm not quite sure how. I want to give you 2 PDFs. So let me just get those. I'm going to put them into the chat, right? Into the chat window so that you would be able to. Oh, unable to send file due to admin restrictions. That's nice.
Oh. That's annoying.
That hasn't happened before. Oh, I know. No, let's try this. I need to send that to everyone in the meeting. Let's try that again. Yes. So that's one that's coming towards you now.
Okay.
And then I'm going to send another one. And send that one. I can hear it arriving on somebody's computer.
Yep.
Which is good news. So what would be really helpful is if you actually download both of those, if you're able to. I guess some people might be on a phone. So if you're not able to download it, then if somebody in your group has downloaded it, it will work because they can read it to you and show it to you. All right. So next part of the lesson that I did and that I would like you to do, I'm going to give you 2 parts of the story, and I want you to read through them, and in your group make a still image of what you think is the most crucial part of that story. All right, maybe it's a problem in the story, or it's a kind of climax in the story. The story itself is about 7 pages long, and most of it is pictures. All right, so it won't take long to read. Are you ready for that, everybody? And have you got the instructions in your head? Good. Let me do the dividing you into groups.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Do ask.
Sheila, when you said an image, did you mean a physical characterization image or a picture
Yeah.
image?
So this is going to be tricky because I'm glad you asked the question. So what I mean is actually a freeze frame, as it's sometimes called in drama. Some people call them still images.
Right.
And they vacillate between the 2 things. Okay, so I'm going to create a breakout room, 2 breakout rooms, and we'll see who you manage to get in there. I'll answer any questions if you've got them. Oh, room 1, you've got extract 1. Room 2, you've got extract 2. All right. So Josie, you're extract 2. Grant, you're extract 1. And the same with anyone who's in your group. So off you. Oh, I haven't opened the rooms yet. That's good, because otherwise you wouldn't have heard those instructions.
Yeah.
Right, can see that.
Yeah, just
Okay.
Josie, why don't you read those words out?
Okay. I was at home on my own again. It's so boring. Then my mother said that it was time for our walk.
And how about Sheila could read the next one?
There was a very friendly dog in the park, and Victoria was having a great time. I wish I was.
Yeah. And how about Mago, do you want to read something? If you unmute yourself. Mago.
Yeah, hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Sorry for being late. Do you want to come on the slide? A voice asked. It was a girl, unfortunately, but I went anyway. She was great on the slide. She went really fast. I was amazed.
Okay. And how about Karen reading the next one? Excuse me.
Two dogs raced around like old friends.
Okay. And I'll read this one. The girl took off her coat and swung on the climbing bars. So I did the same. Josie?
I'm good at climbing trees, so I showed her how to do it. She told me her name was Smudge. A funny name, I know, but she's nice. Then my mother caught us talking together, and I had to go home.
And that's the, oh yeah, no, there we go. Mago, how about you reading that last one?
Okay.
Can you,
Maybe Smudge will be there next time.
cool. Is your name Mago or Mago or Margot?
I'm actually Madeline, and Mago is kind of a nickname.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm from Romania.
Oh,
Oh,
welcome.
lovely. Yeah.
Welcome,
Hello.
Margot.
Thank you.
So
Such
what I want to
worldwide.
do is to think about what you saw in the story. You might want to look through it again. If you've got it on your own computer, you can look in your own time. And then to choose a moment that you think is crucial in the story, important, story changing, whatever you want to think, and to make a freeze frame where you are characters. Tricky on Zoom, but you'll all have to pretend to be in the same place, but being characters. All right. So that's your challenge. I'm going to leave it with you.
Okay.
I'm just going back through the pictures again for you all to see.
Yeah.
Yes.
True.
Same way.
Same way. Okay.
Yeah. Uh-oh, boss man's here.
Oh, is Grant directing this? I better get out of the way.
I'm not.
Right, we're done.
Yeah, we're done. We're done, mate.
All right, nice one. I love the pictures. So, how are we going to get over the fact that we don't know how you are in relation to each other? You know, it being Zoom, and you can't be in the same space to show your connections and so on.
Okay, so basically we'll do it like this. Okay, so I am number one because I'm in the foreground,
Yeah,
and then we've got the tree, which is the next closest to me. Okay, that's number two, and then three and four are in the background.
yeah, that sounds good. What I'm going to suggest, and this is just an adaptation for Zoom for when we get back together, is that you add in for everybody a spoken thought or line so that you make your freeze frames and then each character, even the trees, say something. So the trees can describe how they feel or what they're seeing or what the weather's like or something to do with the moment in the story. Yeah? Does that make sense?
Okay.
Does, yeah.
So that it will be like a freeze frame.
Yeah, good.
And then, so that's something you could rehearse.
As well.
So what I'm going to ask us to do is those people who were in the group working on Extract 3, third voice, which is Josie and friends, could you switch off your videos?
Okay.
Yeah, and we're going to watch the other ones.
Okay.
And if you want to, you can also move the people who are in that group to the top of your computer screen if you're watching on a laptop by just grabbing the photos, or rather the videos, and moving them. And so I've asked both groups to do the same thing, which is to show us their freeze frame, which maybe they could hold for about 5 to 10 seconds. And then they are going to speak and maybe move for about 5 seconds so that we hear a little bit from each character or object. Okay, over to you, voice 2. Okay, brilliant freeze frames. So off you go. Let's hear what you came up with. Oh, by the way, sorry, you'll need to unmute yourselves, Emma and Grant, in order for us to hear you. It mutes you automatically when you come back from a breakout. Okay. So try again.
7.50 an hour? No. Oh.
Next one.
Oh, this nasty weather. My leaves are shivering in the wind. Oh.
Excellent. Next one.
Trixie, wait for me. It's your pal Rex. Hold on, we'll put the trees together.
Over to Emma.
Run for the hills.
Oh, sounds like a momentous line. Shall we give them a round of applause? Thank you very much. And we'll watch the other group and then we'll talk about what we make of those stories. So if those who were switched on, can you switch your videos off? Those who were, you know what I mean. And I'm just going to move my pictures to the top so that I can see who's in the group. Is it 3 of you? Sheila, Josie?
4.
Who's missing?
Emma.
Mago.
Mago.
Here she is. Hello, Mago. You're back. Now, don't forget, Mago, you need to unmute yourself as well. All right. So I'm going to let you take it away. Show us what you've got. Okay, good freeze frames. Now let's hear what you came up with. You don't need me to tell you when to speak.
Whoosh! Such a windy day. I'm so happy. We can play.
Oh, Karen, you're a bit muted.
Oh,
Oh, that's better. Can hear you now. Go again.
okay. But you're a girl.
Okay, let's give them a round of applause and let's all switch our videos back on. Okay. So, yeah, nice rounds of applause. Thank you very much. So, what did group? Yeah, let's see. Grant's group. People who were in the group with Grant, Emma, Kirsty, and Svetlana, wasn't it? So, what did you make of their group? So that's what I mean to ask, is the second group, Josie and others, Sheila, Karen, and Mago. What did you make of the first one that you saw?
I thought it's really good. Really varied. I like Grant's sort of job seekers paper. It's brilliant. Yeah. And Svetlana's tree was fantastic as well. I mean, they're all really good, guys. Really good.
What did you get? What do you think might have been happening in that part of the story?
The dogs were playing.
Yeah, the dog. Yeah.
The dogs were playing. That was Kirsty and
Oh yeah,
Rex.
sorry. Yeah.
And I'm not sure what Emma was, but it was really good what you did. And obviously Grant was sitting on a bench reading his newspaper, looking for a job.
Emma, could you tell us a little bit more about, could you show us your freeze frame again, please? Okay, excellent.
An arrow.
So were you an object or a person?
I was kind of like an object of a person. I was as like a statue.
Ah,
Oh, yes.
The background.
Statue, yeah.
excellent. Yeah, makes sense. And what was the line that your statue said?
Run for the hills.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Great.
Nice.
There's a couple of dogs in the background darting off in the direction that the statue's pointing. So
yeah. No, that's really nice. What's nice about this is what you and what the students will pick up from the pictures, you know, things that not all of us will notice, the statues in the park, and bear in mind who they might be or what they might be thinking if they could think. So let's swap it around. So the other group are going to talk about what they think they saw and what they liked and what they understood. Off you go.
I like the different characters, seeing the different characters, the different character voices, and I like the very strong shapes that they've made in the beginning, and the fact that they kind of did a different voice from their normal voice.
Yeah. What did you get might be going on? Any of the other group?
I wasn't quite sure, but there was something going on in the park.
Yeah, it was in the park. I'm sure about that.
Yeah. And there were some dogs, and
chasing each other.
And there was some people.
I think for
it was a girl, or maybe I'm just
your voice went
mixed
out
up in my head. I don't know, but
No,
I don't know.
Okay, anybody else got something to add to that? All right, so
my internet is very, very poor.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so what I did was I had 4 extracts because there are 4 voices in the book, and I put them all on separate handouts and gave them out to 4 different groups, and they each read through their story and then showed a freeze frame. We also brought the freeze frame to life by me clapping my hands and then them all moving and speaking just for 10 seconds like you did, but obviously in the same room, and they could relate to each other more easily because of that. Then asked for feedback and also questions. All right. So because of the limited time and because everything takes a bit longer on Zoom, I am going to kind of summarize what happened.
What were the 4 books?
Sorry?
Did you say you had 4 books?
So
No,
it's
one book.
4 stories from one book.
Ah, okay, cool.
So there's first voice, second voice, third voice, and fourth voice. So I think just going back to this drama book and what they recommend doing next. So let me just get the correct page.
So what's the drama book say?
Try this.
Try this.
Thank you.
And the good news is that Tim Taylor, who wrote this book, is going to be a guest on our Zoom meeting in 2 meetings' time.
Oh, lovely.
I contacted him today because he's a friend of mine, and he agreed to come along in April and tell us all about his approach that he's devised over 25 years of drama teaching and how it works. So you'll understand it a lot better than from today. But I wanted to explain what I did. And the idea is that you can get the kids to finish the story as they might imagine it might finish. The main aim of all the activities here is really to get the kids talking. So what we can't do here is kind of like take each group, look at it in detail, ask for questions and field answers to kind of pull out more detail about each of the characters in the freeze frame. You will be able to do that, obviously, if you're in a studio or classroom. So just to give you a bit of background, the next thing that Tim recommends doing is to read the story up until the moment of the freeze that you saw at the beginning that I did. So I'm going to do that and kind of show you some pictures as well. Let me just spotlight my video. There we go. So when we arrived at the park, I let Victoria off her lead. Immediately, some scruffy mongrel appeared and started bothering her. I shooed it off, but the horrible thing chased her all over the park. I ordered it to go away, but it took no notice of me whatsoever. Sit, I said to Charles. Here? I was just planning what we should have to eat that evening when I saw Charles had disappeared. Oh dear, where had he gone? And those who are in the second group will notice the character there looking for a job. All right.
Yes.
Yeah. So the characters are in the pictures, but they don't always get talked about. This is the next page. You get some frightful types in the park these days. I called Charles's name for what seemed like an age. And obviously that's the part that I was representing. Then I saw him talking to a very rough-looking child. They are there at the end of the avenue. Charles, come here at once, I said. And come here, please, Victoria. We walked home in silence. Now, the great thing about this book, I've never used it before, but it actually is about 30 years old. So the second story is this one that one of the groups had. And this is a very different character who's more like, I needed to get out the house. So me and Smudge took the dog to the park kind of character. And you saw an extract of that. The third voice is from Charles. And we see the story from his point of view, him having to go to the park. And we find out what he did when he went missing, which was to meet Smudge, the daughter of this man. And then the fourth story, which none of you have seen, is the story of Smudge.
Okay.
Dad had been really fed up, so I was pleased when he said we could take Albert to the park. This is a great picture. Albert's always in such a hurry to be let off his lead. He went straight up to this lovely dog and sniffed its bum. He always does that. Of course, the other dog didn't mind, but its owner was really angry, the silly twit. I got talking to this boy. I thought he was a bit of a wimp at first, but he's okay. We played on the seesaw and he didn't say much, but later on, he was a bit more friendly. We both burst out laughing when we saw Albert having a swim. Then we all played on the bandstand and I felt really, really happy. Charlie picked a flower and gave it to me. Then his mum called him and he had to go. I was trying to show you that bit there. He looked sad. Okay. And then the last page says, open it. When I got home, I put the flower in some water and made Dad a nice cup of tea. All right.
That's a great story.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Really. It's very easy to find. I got it from the local library because it's still published.
And it's called Zoo.
No, this one is called
Voices in the
in the
Park.
Park. Voices
Voices in the Park.
in the Park. It's by Anthony Browne, which has an
Yeah.
E on the end of it, right? And
He's done great books.
the potential for drama, I thought, was really amazing. And
Is
that's
Anthony Browne Jamaican? They would call him Brownie.
no, he isn't. He doesn't look Jamaican, put it that way. Who knows what his heritage is?
Oh.
But yeah, that's a good way of. Interestingly, two of the characters in his story, I mentioned Mrs. Smythe, who is the one with the red hat, and the one who is out of a job is called Mr. Smith. So there's Mr. Smith and Mrs. Smythe. There's Smudge and Charlie, and there's the dogs. So what we did after this was roll on the wall. Do you know that one?
Yes.
So the idea is you draw a gingerbread man shape. Let me share my website with you to show you this. So the idea is you draw a gingerbread man, and I got the groups to write down some characteristics of the main character from their story. So one group wrote about Mrs. Smythe, another one wrote about Mr. Smith, another group wrote about Charlie, and the other one wrote about Smudge. And usually you take just one character. In fact, I'm remembering now that I got everybody to write about Mrs. Smythe to make it simple. So they wrote things like stuck up twit, or a bit posh, or doesn't like children or animals, and things like that. And then you stick these up. Now, this can be much more creative. So here's some work that I did with some Chinese students last year, where they took Mr. Wormwood from the story of Matilda by Roald Dahl, and they did their own drawing and then wrote lots of things about the character around inside the shape. So the idea is to generate thoughts about a character. That's a graphic from one of my books showing how you might do it about the character of Matilda. All right. So they did this, and then I followed up with some hot seating. So still working in their groups, I asked them to take their main character, the ones I mentioned earlier, Charlie, Smudge, Mrs. Smythe, and Mr. Smith, and then for the others to ask that character some questions. So one of them played the character while the others asked the questions. And if I was doing this with kids, it would depend on whether they had done hot seating before, because it's not an easy thing to do for anybody. So one option would be for the teacher to do teacher in role, first of all. In other words, so for example, I could be Mr. Smith or I could be Mrs. Smythe, and get the kids to talk to me and to ask me questions. It's good if you set up what's happening, where they are, what the location is. Maybe there's an event. So, for example, it could be the moment when Mrs. Smythe loses her child, or it could be the moment Mr. Smith lost his job. Okay, and then the kids can ask questions of that character. So once you've demonstrated that, you can give them a chance to try it out in groups. And this is something that I wouldn't do all of this in one drama lesson. You know, this could easily be developed into a number of sessions, I think.
Yeah.
So there's not much time left, but we can run over a little bit if people are able to stay. But I'd love for any feedback that you've got and any ideas for what sparks in your mind about what you might do with this. Feel free to kick off if you've got something.
Can I just say, I'm just about to start a drama group as of next week, but it's a little bit different because I work in a museum. I work at the Donham Gallery Library and Museum. I've actually worked with David Wood. It was David Wood actually who told me about you, David. So I'm an ex-whirligigger, and I've done many.
Right.
I am an ex-whirligigger, and
I've
actually
worked with David Wood.
yeah, I'm quoted in his book as well, if you go back.
Right.
But for me, this is very, very different, because the idea is we're going to be using museum objects to inspire the age group is 12 to 16, and we're using museum objects as the starting point to inspire them to create stories. I do think I will use this, especially in terms of a warm-up and this idea of characterization. I love the idea of the gingerbread man and them you know, asking the questions and talking about, you know, what's happening in this scene. So I definitely have found this useful, because I know I'm a performer, but I'm very new to leading a group, and I'm not necessarily an instinctive teacher, whereas I might be an instinctive actress, but not necessarily an instinctive teacher. So I have found this really useful.
Here's the book, because Sheila, are you in the UK?
I am in the UK, yes. I'm Doncaster.
This book is published in the UK, and you can buy it from Amazon, I've just seen, but you can also buy it directly from the publisher. And it probably costs a bit, probably about 25 or 30 quid, because it's so big, and it's got so much in it. But if you are working in a museum, I thought this would be incredibly useful, because some of it talks about using objects, some of it talks about using drawings, and all of it is about investigation of people and stories. I think, you know, it would just be really good if you were able to get hold of it.
I'll try. I'll actually try and get the library to purchase it. We have nothing in terms of drama. We don't have any plays up here. I'm a new position, so during my tenure, I will be trying to encourage them to go, you know, and start investing in that side of things. To have plays, you know. Anyway, I don't want to hog it.
No, Sheila, that was really interesting feedback. And it's nice to hear that David Wood mentioned my name.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
He used to be on our board of directors when I was running my theatre company, and he's quite a well-known playwright of children's plays.
Very good one. I performed in 3 of them and created two of his characters.
Grant said he was in a play as well with David Wood. What were you in, Grant? If he can hear us. Yeah. Can you remember what you were in?
I don't know if he can hear you.
I think he's probably trying to get the internet in his house.
I was in the BFG.
Oh yes, I saw that. I came to see that with Tony Pedley.
Yes, Tony.
Yeah.
What were you then? What were you, Grant? I would have thought you would be the giant.
Well, I was the understudy for the giant, but I was the fleshlight eater, and I was the teacher. Was I the teacher? I was the teacher at the beginning of the play.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember going to see that.
Okay. What did people think of this idea that I did at the beginning of just playing a moment of a character?
I loved it. I thought it was great. Really good entry point.
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, thought-provoking.
Yeah, because it really it's intriguing. And so, oh, what's going on? And kids love that kind of thing. They, you know, all ages. I think I've been teaching many ages now, and all of them love that kind of thing. They're intrigued. They're interested. If you do something different, you know. Yeah.
I thought that the use of a beanie hat for me presented this kind of young, edgy character. If you had a lady's hat, when we see the character later, I'm just thinking how props can really play into that.
They can.
But But it was
Yeah,
nice that you actually used the beanie instead of the lady's hat.
yeah,
So it gave us, but you did tell us that you weren't your gender. So
yeah.
we knew you were a woman. And yeah, I mean, your
I guess
characterization.
I guess I could say that she was wearing a lovely big red hat, but I'm going to
Oh
wear
no, I
this.
think it's fine.
I'm going to wear this today, kind of thing, you know.
It didn't matter. I don't
Because I
think it
think
matters.
It didn't matter. It's just interesting how it
yeah,
does have an effect
no,
on
I
you.
agree.
Think what
Yeah,
you
I think it's a
see.
good point, though,
Mm.
because of that. Yeah. Okay. Well, as I mentioned, this is just one of the approaches in the book. I'm looking through it now, and there's actually 40 different approaches.
Mm.
And as I mentioned, they use objects, they use drawings, they use clothing. So there's all sorts of different ways in that you can go. Um, and yeah, in 2 months' time, we'll have Tim here who will tell us much more about it. Yeah, that's it. So just that's it in terms of time. But is there anything else anybody would like to throw in to the discussion before we disappear?
Yeah, I was just going to say that I've used the zoo from Anthony Browne, and it's a brilliant entry because in that book there's so much about whether zoos should exist. So it's a really good entry point for children to explore. They create their own zoos. There's so many avenues to go on, you know, debates. Is it right for animals to be in zoos? Should they or shouldn't they? That book, Zoo, is fantastic as well as rich as voices.
Mm.
That's incredible because we've got, of course, a lot of taxidermy.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
And one of the sessions I wanted to do was, I was calling it Wild.
Mm.
That sounds like that would be a
Yeah.
perfect book to start that. And we
Yeah.
have a bear that was originally in a zoo when we started
Mm.
and escaped and became a taxidermy bear.
Oh,
Oh.
I mean, it's an awful thought, but it's actually lived in Doncaster and it's actually in the museum stuffed.
oh, that would
Yeah.
be perfect.
So,
Fantastic.
that sounds
I want to come and join in. Can I come?
display has a name, Billy. I mean, it's on display, and this is a real story. I mean, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to, while we're talking about that, just to briefly share my screen with you to show you a little bit of the zoo book so you've got an idea of what it looks like.
Zoo by Anthony Browne. My family. Me. My brother. Dad. Mum. Last Sunday, we all went to the zoo. Me and my brother were really excited. Grrr.
Okay, I'm going to pause it there, but just show you some of the pictures.
Yeah.
And there's one really
Yeah.
powerful picture in here
Yes.
of the
Yeah.
orangutan in his cage, looking with his back to the spectators. And in this book, that's the image that they use to start off to get the kids to think.
Yeah.
So yeah, well worth having a look at that. And it's a thin picture book. So look, you can buy it for £3.50
Yeah.
online.
It's brilliant.
And yeah, well worth having a look at. I'm I'm at early stages of using that Voices in the Park, so I want to try it out with some other groups, and see, where I can take it.
It's a really great idea to have it from different points of view. I mean, it's been done before, but I've never seen it in a picture book. It's very good.
It's quite sophisticated, really.
Yes.
And I think it's something that would bear reading and rereading, and also could be used with language learners who are older than picture book age.
Sure.
So you could use that even with teenagers, I would say.
I have to use picture books all the time. I mean, I do Shakespeare, but I have to print pictures because otherwise the kids just don't get it. You really have to use pictures and images. Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that all of the characters appear in each other's stories, they're interconnected, could also build up to you doing a whole class or a
Yeah.
whole group still image with thought tracking voices, or it could have a progression in it where people speak and then the next group speaks. I don't know, I don't know if the intention is to tell the story exactly as in the book or just take ideas from the book and
I think you can do anything.
in your own way.
I
It has
think
a lot
I
of
did.
potential.
Imaginarium with it.
Yeah. But you could certainly, I think, the idea is that you can explore the issues in the book, and if that takes you off in a different direction, then that's well and good,
Yeah, they could finish the stories. What happens to Mr. Smith in the end? Does he get a job as the park keeper or something? And does he end up chasing the dogs off the statue was pointing them to? And there's lots of potential for it in many ways, I suppose. It's a great book, yeah.
Yeah, even the statues themselves could be a whole lesson just around the statues and what are they saying, their character, bringing them to life.
Yeah, it would be lovely to hear back from you, Sheila, about how it goes with your with your classes with the 12 to 16-year-olds in the museum.
Yeah, it would be
Fascinating to
nice.
come
And
back
can I sort of invite people, if you're ever in Doncaster, it is a public museum. Please, it's the Dagenham Gallery, Library and Museum. So if you're there, do pop in and ask for me and just come and have a look round. If you are in Doncaster, it's free to enter. So there's no fee. So
is that DANUM?
Yes, the Roman name for Doncaster, Dagenham. So that's DANUM, and it's the Dagenham Gallery, Library and Museum. We call it DGLAM for short.
Okay.
And my drama group is called Dram Glam.
Nice.
Okay.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
In the past, I've done a lot of theatre and drama in museums. And I think there's a lot of potential there. So I worked for a while at Tring Zoological Museum, which was full of stuffed animals. They had a quagga in there.
We have a quagga.
Yeah.
Actually, it's a hybrid quagga.
And it was, it was a collection of Lord Rothschild's animals that he brought back from his pals' shooting expeditions. I think it was the way it was a trend for Victorians to wild animals, bring them back and stuff them, put them in museums. Not something that would probably be done today. But yes, so I think museums are great. Okay, I'm gonna round things off. I think that was a fun session, don't you?
Yes.
Very
Absolutely.
much so. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was great.
Top notch. Thanks, David.
Yeah.
Good. Thanks, Grant.
Thank you very much.
Kirsty, Yule, if you've got a minute before you go,
I do.
I want to chat to you because I'm coming to visit your school next week.
Indeed you are. Looking forward to it.
Okay. So bye to everybody else.
Thank you
later, guys. Have a good
See you.
week.
Bye, everyone. Nice to see you.
Bye. Thank you for having me.